Hello and welcome back to the Puncher's Chance podcast with myself, Sam Hill, and as always I'm joined by
Tovey
and
Ben Thomas.
In today's episode we're going to be looking at some of the fights from the weekend over in America, including Oshaki Foster, Sevenati Nonshinga and Mauricio Lara, as well as talking about the Swansea card in Brangwyn Hall that me and Ben attended on the weekend. And other than that, we're just going to be looking at some of the recent bits of boxing news. No audio clips today, just a nice standard episode while things are a little bit quiet. But before we get to that, Harry, obviously we didn't really see you this weekend. Me and Harry did.
Always ditched me to go to Swansea. Couldn't believe it.
What was the rugby like? What are you saying? Good.
I wish I was in Swansea, to be honest. It was a good game, but we didn't win, so yeah, it wasn't the best. But it sounded like you boys had fun. I was just wondering, could you take me through what you got up to then down in Swansea?
Yeah, it was good. It was a good weekend, so a good day's boxing. So we turned up for the weigh-ins, 1:00. Got to interview a load of the fighters down there. All those interviews are up on our YouTube channel at the moment, so if anyone's listening, want to check those out, they're all available on our YouTube. Had a chat with Richie Garner, the promoter, Dan, the matchmaker, and I said I'd say this to him, and I'm not just saying it because he said I said I'd do it. He said give him some credit for the matchmaking.
Yeah.
The matchmaking on the night was unbelievable. I mean, there were 6 fights, all of them tight fights. 2 of them probably you'd consider upsets on the decision. Wow. One of them probably could have been a draw, and there's already a rematch for that one.
Okay.
Yeah, unbelievable good day boxing, and really great to meet some of the guys as well. And Enzo Macronelli, got an interview with him up on the channel as well. So yeah, really good
just
day.
Just
Enzo Macronelli, nothing.
No, we had a good chat with everyone down there, to be fair to me, and it was a really good night, really helpful, and really entertaining fights. I've got to give it to.
Your coverage was good. Is this your first taste of Welsh boxing? Obviously, you've been to boxing events in the past, haven't you? So
yeah, but I think this is the first time I've done a proper small hall shoulder guard in Brangwyn Hall. I think we were both surprised with when we walked in and seen it. And if people haven't actually seen it, they should have a look at the photos of it. But it was so nice in it. It was proper, real nice setting for a night of boxing.
Didn't the person say this, the York Hall of Welsh boxing?
Yeah, that's what Dan said. He reckoned it was. He said he reckoned it was like the York Hall, and it is. It's got that sort of look about it, certainly in terms of what it looked like, and yeah, it was a cracking day. I mean, we can run through some of the fights now.
I was about to say, have you boys got any fights of the night so you can just talk about quickly?
Fight of the night, I'll leave to the very end because it was the last. It was the last fight of the
main
night.
Event. It was such a good fight.
To open the card, you had Aaron Bird versus Ben Thomas, the real Ben Thomas, which was an.
Can I just say, when you posted that on Twitter, I didn't realise that there was a Ben Thomas fight, and I was thinking, hang on a minute, have they paid Ben to step in the ring tonight or so?
Yeah, fill in. No, it's Aaron Bird. To be fair to him, he's 4-0 now. Sorry, really tidy fight. He's up for a Welsh title next, a Welsh light heavy. So he's a really, really talented fighter. And it was Ben was a tough opponent. Come down from Bolton.
From Bolton, Ben, you came. I thought you lived in Merthyr. Bloody hell.
It's halfway there, isn't it? It's not quite
close there.
And then
north.
Willie Gilhaney on the next card up, fought Josh Cook. Tidy, comfortable win for Willie. Another Enzo Macronelli fighter, so he's big upcoming fighter. Lost a lot of weight.
I was about to say he's the one that
4 stone he lost.
I've seen the pictures today on Instagram.
Yeah, and he said to me he was looking at jumping down to middleweight. So he's super middle at the moment. Was 110 kilos. He wants to jump down to middleweight. He thinks that's the weight for him. So he's a really exciting one. And then the next one I think was going to be my fight of the night if it wasn't for the last one, was Josh Melly versus Casey Radnam. It's already been remade for a rematch at Llanelli in end of April, so that'll be a really good one to look out for. But Josh was a good laugh. He was a bundle of energy jumping around the place, and Casey had every trick in the book, punching him behind his back on the head, taps on the back of the head, not breaking up when the ref was saying. That was the one. It could have been a draw. I think Dan said he thought it was a draw, but
Dan had it as a draw, didn't he?
He's the matchmaker. You can't blame him for maybe.
I don't know how you went with it, but I had Josh winning by a round, even though he did go in a 4-round fight. He got dropped in the second round, and still managed to get up. But I thought he won the other 3 rounds.
Yeah, I think I had it as if you're scoring it a 10-9 first round for Casey, and then 9-9. I think that second round, Josh won the round, but obviously got dropped. And then the 2 last rounds to Josh, so he would have won by a point. But yeah, mental close fight. And then Ben Crocker, big fighter now. He's 12-0. Had
Big
a tough
news as well.
he had a tough test against Jensen Irving. He's got a big fight coming up in Brentford, 15-0. His opponent. Not exactly sure who that will be, but once it's announced, I'm sure it will be a big one. And then the first upset of the night, Morgan McIntosh lost to Jordan Granham. Jordan's a tough fighter. 130 losses in his career. But he didn't look like in that fight. He turned up and put in a good performance, I thought.
Yeah, I was gutted for Morgan when we spoke to him earlier in the day. He was speaking about obviously how excited he was to finally make his debut. He's been waiting so long for it. His brother won the Welsh title obviously in November, but yeah, I think it was just one of those nights. It was just Jordan Granham turned up. He's obviously very experienced. He's had so many fights. Like some people look at his record and think that maybe it would have been a bit of a walkover, but it was anything but that. He really stuck it to him, give him a tough test. But it's a loss on his record. But how many fighters have we seen with losses on their record? They go on to do big things. It's not the end for him. Like, he can kick on from it now. He'll learn from it. And I think it's a difficult thing sometimes when you're starting off with a 4-round fight. You've only got that short amount of time. If you don't get it right in those 4 rounds, it's over quite quick before you can really fix it.
So also, it wasn't like the guy wiped the floor with him by any means.
No,
he looked really impressive, Morgan. I thought he was there. He looked the sharpest, looked the quickest. He was throwing an unbelievable sort of variation of shots as well. Just not really enough to affect his opponent, and so I think the refs went with that because he didn't necessarily seem too harmed with it. And then the 2 main events on the card were both female fights.
Good to see.
And some really good fights. Victoria Perkins, one of the few we didn't get to have a chat to, but we had a chat to her trainer Tony today, so that'll be coming up on the YouTube soon. He had a little bit of say what he said, and to be honest, I kind of mirror what Tony said, where she didn't necessarily get out of first gear, struggled to get going in the fight, and didn't really look impressive until that final round, and then that was too little too late. Lost over the course of the 6 rounds to Lindsay Bushinsky, who's now set for a Commonwealth fight for her next. She's currently Central Area title holder. She's really, really tidy fighter. She fought really well on the inside. I think she said she was a level above Victoria, and it was hard to argue with that, to be honest, with her performance. But when you're training with the real Ben Thomas every day, the levels are showing.
I still can't believe you managed to get a picture of him as well.
Oh, it was good to meet him, to be fair. We had a nice chat at the back and everything after his fight, and yeah, he was a good laugh with us. But yeah, hopefully we'll bump into him on another show.
I'm sure we will. I need to meet him. I need to meet him. That's going to be my to-do on one of my to-do lists for 2024. Meet the actual Ben Thomas.
And then, to finish off the night, the fight of the night, Ashley Johnson versus Jamilet Vallejos.
Good pronunciation.
Unbelievable fight.
Oh, this was so good.
So
fight of the night?
Yeah, 100%.
By a mile. We were talking to Enzo and Ashley after the fight, and after the first round, Enzo said to Ashley, she can't keep this up for 6 rounds. Just weather the storm for now, box smart, and then you'll have the later rounds, you'll be fine. And then the 3rd round went by, and then the 4th round went by, and the 5th round went by, and Jamie's just still going at him. And her trainer in the corner was just saying hard, yes, go, the whole fight. Came into the corner like, yeah, good, do it again, and she just did. She just kept going. I mean, she ate some shots coming in, but she didn't care because she was landing a couple. But massive props to Ashley. To take that in your second fight. She's moved over from kickboxing, so it's not something, she hasn't got an amateur career. This is her second ever boxing fight. So it was an impressive performance. And on to bigger and better things. And like I said, just fight of the night without a doubt.
She had a good backing behind her, Ashley, as well. I think most of the people in there were there to watch her fight. In the crowd really got into it, and it was just non-stop from the minute they started to the final bell. It was just constant action. But very good fight and a very good night to fight.
How do you boys say these shows are for boxing, for people like Ashley? They're probably, because she probably turned up there on Saturday night and was thinking, if I don't sell a lot of tickets, I'm not going to make a lot of money here. Because we was talking to Tony earlier on, and some fighters, they don't get paid to fight. The way they get paid is through selling tickets. And you said that Ashley's got a lot of fans there, so she must have, made a few quid Saturday night.
Yeah, she had a family and friends, I'm sure, that filled the ringside. Unfortunately, after Ben Crocker fought, being the biggest name on the card, I think it emptied a little bit. But yeah, these fights, these cards are they're integral to boxing. You will never see a Matchroom card, a Queensberry card, any of these cards if it wasn't for these. If the fighters weren't able to do these on their way up and make a name for themselves, like Enzo said, out of the spotlight, away from the video cameras, away from the
pressure.
So yeah, just really practice your trade, get to the point where you can take those bigger fights. And obviously the money involved, it's not crazy money, but it's good money for these guys, keeps them in the ring, keeps them fighting, and hopefully pushes them on to bigger and better things.
Where are we now? With the 19th of February today. Any fighters that we should be looking out for come the end of the year?
Off that card,
yeah.
Aaron Bird was the first fight. I thought he was really good. I think he was tentative in moments of when he hurt. He was obviously fighting Ben Thomas. When he hurt him, you could see, even though Ben was trying to sort of give the thing of it weren't hurting him, I think in certain shots he was caught with did back him up a bit. I think even when we spoke to Aaron afterwards, I think he said he needs to probably learn a bit more just when to stick it on someone, but he's a very good defensive fighter as well. I think that maybe he's defensive first sort of mindset, but behind that jab he was controlling the fight pretty well, and I thought he was very good. Obviously he'll have his Welsh title fight. I think he said he's aiming for June for that, so I think that would be one to definitely keep an eye out on.
Yeah, I think Aaron was the one, if you'd say, just like you say, he was so tidy behind the jab, really looked comfortable in there, really tidy. 4-0 now, so he's ready to sort of make that jump up. And then the other one is Ben Crocker.
I was about to say, Ben Crocker, the way you were talking about him, he seems a good one.
He said it was an off night for him, and he maybe overlooked his opponent a little bit, but he won every round comfortably. And so that shows what level he sees himself at. He's fought on the card of a Matchroom card before, so he's got he was certainly the biggest name on the card. And in terms of, I'm confident at 12-0, within the next year or so, we'll be sat here on this podcast talking about a big show, and Ben's name will come up without a doubt. I'm certain on that, without a doubt.
Yeah, and what you were saying earlier about how important these sort of fight nights are to these fighters and sort of supporting them. I think the interview we done with Richie and how he was explaining it, I think I don't think you can explain it much better. Like, if you're a proper boxing fan and you really enjoy watching boxing, like, you can go and watch the big shows, like he said, with AJ, and be sat right to the back, and you're basically watching it on TV all night. But lucky for me and Sam, we didn't have to actually spend any money to go down on Saturday.
That picture you sent me of literally being right by the ring. I couldn't believe that.
Richie and Dan sorted us right out on Saturday night.
Proper.
But
sounded like they looked after you properly, didn't they?
The money they are charging, really, if you think about it, it was worth paying, wasn't it, really, for that.
I mean, 80 quid for ringside tickets, I think it was, on the day. So you're getting, for 80 quid, you're getting 5 hours of boxing. You're getting to, the lads came out into the ringside crowd, so you get to meet all the fighters for 80 quid. I don't mean to be funny, 80 quid, you go out on a piss with your mates, you can spend 80 quid if the night goes wrong,
especially
or goes right, depends how you see it. But for a day's boxing, entertaining, 80 quid, you can't go wrong. If I had 80 quid, I'd have paid it, but I didn't.
When's the next event then? Because you're selling these events, and I'm getting a bit excited in my chair.
Well, the next one, so we got April 20th is the next one with Richie and Dan,
and that's in
Llanelli.
Llanelli.
Okay. And then is the pronunciation of that one alright?
Llanelli, it's not so bad.
It's not you close.
I've been working on it all night. I've been running through it. So that's there when it's in, and then our next one, we're in March the 2nd. We're heading down to the Vale Sports Arena watching the Sanagar event.
Another big event in Welsh boxing.
Yeah, should be some real great fighters. Unfortunately, it seems we can't necessarily see too much right now just because we're not sure what's out there. But it seems a few of the fighters maybe aren't going to be fighting, which is a shame.
But there's still some cracking fights on that.
Cracking fights, a number of fights, and in terms of exactly like Ben said and like Richie said, if you like boxing, there's just no reason not to do it because it's as close and as good a level as boxing as you're going to get.
Same quality, I would say.
Exactly. Without spending thousands of pounds and flying over to Riyadh, it's the highest quality boxing you're going to get. and you're not going to be able to get anywhere near as close to those guys as you know, as we could, which was great. And yeah, it was well worth doing. And like I said, if anyone's listening and you haven't seen any of the content we got from over the weekend, I'd highly recommend going onto our YouTube and checking out some of the interviews with some of the fighters, and then, you know, follow them on social media, see what they're up to, and follow them forward for their next events and see what they've got coming up. And then to move on to the highest of high level boxing, we've got...
Well, some of the fights weren't the highest of highs in boxing.
Yeah, but, you know, they were at the top of the game. You've got Oshaki Foster beat Abraham Nova in Madison Square Garden on Friday morning for us. Pretty... Comfortable, good performance from Oshaki Foster. A good win over Nova.
Actually, two ringside judges scored it for Foster, 115, 112 and 116, 111, whilst the third had it 114, 113 to Nova. Yeah. So...
Yeah, I don't know. It seemed
that was with Nova down in the last round as well.
I don't know if I agree with that judge scorecard, but, you know, obviously now Oshaki Foster's got that WBC World Super Feather.
22-2 now.
Lee Wood was calling him out on Twitter. You know, Lee Wood's obviously got one title already. If he wants those 2 titles, I think when we played the clip from Ben Davison not too long ago, he said that, you know, is there any more titles out there? And there is a title out there. Is that a fight we'd like to see? Have, you know, Oshaki Foster versus Lee Wood, or possibly even, you know, Lee Wood finish that Josh Warrington
let's see that next
fight, and then next year have the City Ground fight with Oshaki Foster, possibly.
I think if I was Lee Wood looking at it, he's obviously, like we talked about last week, he's not going to get that City Ground fight this summer. So if I was him and the people around him, I think you're probably looking at them two as a fight he has this year and a fight he has next year as his last 2 fights. If he's looking at City Ground next year against Warrington, possibly, then I think a good move for him would to be maybe go out to America against Oshaki Foster and get a big fight out there. That's 2 big paydays and to finish your career off on 2 big fights. If he goes out there, beats Oshaki Foster, 2-weight world champion, like,
what a win.
That is a good way to call time on your career, and then he can come back. Whether he goes out there and wins or he comes back, he gets that fight he's always wanted at the City Ground against whoever it may be, whether it's Warrington or Cordina. I'd like to see Cordina up there as well if we could get that on. But yeah, them 2 fights I think would be a good way for him to finish off.
It's hard to argue with promoter Ben Thomas.
Ben Hearn back at it.
Yeah.
You remind me of Richie. Richie on the night, he did cut man, coaching and manager at one point. He was someone's cut man at one point.
The last fight as well with Ashley, I thought he was going to be in the ring at one point. The way he was cheering her on, and fair play to him, he was all over the place.
He was doing a bit of everything. And
that's what he do. He's the one that was running it, weren't he?
Promoter.
Yeah.
Okay, so he's obviously going to be doing stuff like that, ain't he?
Yeah, but you don't see Eddie Hearn there.
You
didn't cut man getting.
Eddie Hearn got cut on the weekend.
He did, but Richie was out there with the cotton swabs. You know,
he was doing all that as well.
Yeah, he was
no way.
That's so cool. That was good stuff, and that's what Ben's like. He's not just a podcaster. He's an interviewer. He's a boxing promoter, a professional fighter,
chicken strips eater,
everything. Does it all. And then
good driver as well. Let's put that in there. Good taxi.
I'll take on.
Good taxi man.
My foot did not hit the brake once, so.
Because you couldn't go anywhere in the back, that's why.
And my legs were just trapped. Yeah. Sam pushed his chair all the way
then
back.
The other card that was on again, I think it was again Friday morning, this time in Oaxaca, Mexico, was Mauricio Lara, Daniel Lugo. There was a draw in that fight, which was a surprise, I think. I think none of us saw that happening. Obviously, Lara's second draw, the other one came against Josh Warrington.
I think most people maybe were expecting Lara, but I didn't catch much of the fight. I've seen highlights of it, and I think a lot of people were probably going more with Lugo as the winner by the end of the fight, but it's gone, was it majority decision it was in the end. It was close. The only one that won with the judges was Lara. Oh no, it wasn't actually. It was Lugo that won with one of the judges, so yeah, probably edging towards Lugo. And I think the other disappointing thing with that was you've seen, don't know if you've seen on the clip with Lara speaking with the Zone before the fight, and he brought up Warrington again.
He wants him, yeah.
And he was
got unfinished business.
Talking about how they still had unfinished business and stuff, but they could still get that fight on. People would still love to see, what would that be, the third
I was going to say that's
between them two. And,
everyone loves a trilogy.
And it was an absolute war, the first two fights between them. They've been brilliant fights. I think Josh would happily sort of try and get the revenge on that fight as well.
It was a disappointing end to one of them as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Big crowd at Headingley, was it?
Yeah, and he was doing well on that fight before the injury and the issue, so I think it's fair. I think that'd be a good fight to watch. And particularly if Lee Wood takes the Oshaki Foster fight or something like that, then to see Warrington keep himself busy with Lara would be a good fight, to be fair.
If we got the promoter head on, you put Lara, Warrington this year, and Wood and Oshaki Foster, and then
Ben Hearn back in the room.
Hear me out. Stick Warrington in Ellen Road this summer.
Yeah.
Our mate Ben Thomas fought in Leeds Banqueting Suite at Ellen Road. Let's get him on the undercard.
We'll get Ben.
Let's get Ben Thomas on the undercard.
We'll just find a way to get him on there anyway, no matter
We'll
what.
manifest away, shall we?
And then the main event, another event where there's been a previous fight that maybe didn't finish the way people expected, or maybe did. Adrian Curiel versus Sivanati Nonshinga. Nonshinga got the victory this time.
Wasn't looking likely, man.
It was a bizarre fight in
He
the
lost
sense of...
the first 8 or 9 rounds, did he? Well,
yeah, and then just
ended in the 10th. Yeah.
Flattened him in the 10th. And
Weird game plan.
I bet it worked.
If you can pull it off, it looks good, doesn't it? But
if you don't,
taking the risk of...
And he's got himself the IBF World title with that. It's impressive stuff for Nonshinga, and I think a good way to
reclaim it.
What was a disappointing result last time out.
Surprise result. No one knew about Adrian Curiel until he popped up in Monaco, and now he's a household name that some people are calling for a trilogy between the two in South Africa. That's what I want to see.
Yeah, I think that'd be a good one to go down. Another fight between them two, because there's been 2 decent fights now. But
I think we try, and often in boxing the idea of a rematch kind of people kind of shun a bit, and they go, oh well, I've seen it once, well I don't want to see it twice. But when there's good matchups and the fights work and the styles gel, sometimes those are almost better than just random fights that you just are taking a bit of a risk that whether or not those styles do gel, or whether or not they are at the same level. We know these two guys will put on a good fight. Curiel's won a number of rounds against Nonshinga, but he's got the knockout Nonshinga on one round. So yeah, I think it just makes sense to do it for a third time if that can be done.
I would love to see it, but Nonshinga said after the fight that Curiel is a good boxer, but I have fought much better than him. So I knew it was just a mistake in Monaco that allowed him to win the World Championship. He wasn't expecting us to stay in the pocket, and when he tired, we went long. So the game plan was to take as much punishment as possible. But if you're a heavyweight, you don't use a game plan like that, do you? Or any heavier weights, like a light heavyweight fighter, for instance.
Yeah, maybe not, but obviously each fight is different. Each fighter will have a different game plan, and
it's a weird game plan, though.
No, yeah, but like you said, if it didn't work out and he ended up going to the scorecards, he probably would have thrown everything at it the last few rounds. But if you're 8 rounds down already, it doesn't matter if you don't get that stoppage. It doesn't matter what you do towards the championship rounds, really, unless you pull off something really special. But yeah, they looked. Nonshinga had a point deducted as well in round 7, so he was even further behind.
Bit questionable though, because there was no warning as well.
But
there must have been a warning, but we obviously didn't hear it on the TV.
Yeah, I think what you've got to remember as well is, because you guys have shared the ring once before, Nonshinga probably knew what Curiel had in terms of power and knew he could.
I think that's what makes it a better fight as well. Is they've already shared the ring with each other, so they know what to expect and they know where to work. But if Nonshinga, he also could set his sights now on becoming the first ever undisputed champion from South Africa. So that could be huge for the country.
Yeah, it would be a good one to see. And then speaking of a good fight to see, I think this is one that Ben's been excited for. I think you've called for it on the podcast before already.
Oh. He chucked it straight into the group chat after a second it went live.
I'll hand this one over to you. I'll let you sell this one.
I don't think it needs selling. Catterall and TAYOR.
Promoter Hearn. Ben Hearn.
well, we've just seen a bit of some of the clips from the press conference as well. They're already going at it.
Great to see.
Everyone's getting involved, but I hope they can get a nice undercard for it as well. But in Leeds, it's going to be some atmosphere. The two of them obviously hate each other. There's real hatred between the two of them. Obviously, going back, I think it's is it over 2 years now since the first fight? And
Daylight
it was
robbery.
very, you could call it very controversial.
It was.
I
had everyone talking.
I
Had
thought
everyone
Catterall
talking.
had won the first one. Taylor obviously come away with a decision. Was it a split decision or unanimous in the end? I think it was split.
Good
maybe.
question.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure. I'll double check.
But-
April 27th, like you said, in Leeds, Hate Runs Deep. It was called the
Yeah.
event,
Oh, they
which
copied
is
into a gala shake there a bit.
which is a good one. I mean, it's fitting, isn't it?
It
in
is
terms
fitting.
of hate does run deep between the two of them, and we're seeing that.
We haven't seen this sort of rivalry though in boxing for so long. I can't recall a time. Maybe Liam Smith, Chris Eubank Jr., but they weren't really going at it, pushing each other, grabbing each other by their neck, and all at the press conference.
I think what we would have seen, it would have been Eubank Ben if that fight ever did or does
Yeah,
happen.
yeah,
It's probably the only one and whether that fight does happen. It was a split decision last time
It's good for boxing though.
for
these
Josh
two.
Taylor. So Josh Taylor won the
Split.
It was a split decision.
okay.
He won. Obviously it was for the IBF, WBA, WBC, and WBO super lightweight.
Was that the Hydro in Glasgow?
It was, and yeah, it'd be it's a good arena down in Leeds. Obviously, great city if I say so myself.
Bit biased though, isn't he?
More close to Jack Catterall's neck of the woods over in
I thought he was going to
Lancashire.
say a bit closer to my home.
A little bit closer, not much.
Not much.
Talking about my house, well, Bristol. It's not that much closer, but it's
Your
close to-
grandmother's.
You're right.
Is your
mate, yeah.
nan going to be going?
I don't think she will be, but there might be.
That's the way that
Shall
Ben
I
was
have a-
hoping to get his tickets, man.
Well, she's got a spare bed, so
Oh,
I can
I
I'll
think-
stay there, and then I'll
am
go.
tempted to look at going to watch that one. I think
Might
it's
have to
going
be
to be
done.
We can go as press if we want.
one of the
Punches Chance podcast, take over at DAZN.
yeah, it'll be one of the fights of the year, I think, and it's going to be a busy 6 weeks in that sort of time frame because we've got that. Obviously, hopefully at the end of May, then
Touchwood.
we'll finally have Fury
Yeah.
Usyk, and then I think it's 2 weeks after Tovey Viddal, the 5v5 will be in June 1st. I think they're hoping to get that.
What a mad period.
And a week
gonna-
before it,
boxing.
we'll be in Llanelli.
Exactly.
Doing the we'll
Oh,
be
yeah,
busy
that'll
as
be-
anything, and we'll be flying up and down the country, out to Saudi,
Yeah,
everywhere.
that'll be the weekend before, won't it? So
Yeah,
Out to Saudi.
that's it. Yeah,
Yes, please.
maybe. And then, if you anything else to say on that fight, or are we just itching, waiting for it to happen, waiting for more fights and press conferences?
Can it be this Saturday? Not.
you're gonna give predictions for it. I'm gonna go for Catterall.
I'm going to go for Catterall, Jack Catterall.
I have to go for Catterall as well.
Well,
We're all going to agree, but it's not. It's boring if we all agree, ain't it?
The good thing is as well, I know they got one win each, and if it does,
A trilogy.
and they've got the trilogy fight possible.
The promoter head. It's back
Yeah.
on again.
So
Because stick it somewhere in the middle, somewhere like Newcastle, that's halfway between the two of them.
Newcastle.
put
St James's
in
Park.
Cardiff.
Just
Put it in
random.
Merthyr, man.
Just
Just-
Put it in
just-
Penydarren Park.
Just so we don't have to
stick it
travel.
in there. And then on a bit of news,
The other good thing as well, before we carry on, it's not on pay-per-view, as far as I
yes,
know.
no,
of
that's
course,
even-
it's
so
included
that's
in the
even
DAZN.
better.
Yeah, I've got the Eddie Hearn's tweet here.
So
Included in
good.
your DAZN subscription, so I won't be down Weatherspoons for that one. I'll
Because
be
if
watching
that was
that.
Eddie Hearn with Matchroom with Sky, that would be straight on Sky
yeah.
Sports box office.
Yeah.
Especially after today's press conference. So good to see that we don't have to pay extra to watch it.
Yeah, it will be good that. And yeah, like I said, a bit of news I didn't expect to be, and words I didn't expect to be uttering on the podcast. Wayne Rooney is in talks to fight on Misfits.
my God.
It's been confirmed by the likes of True Geordie that are obviously involved in Misfits. How? Why? When? Why are we seeing Wayne Rooney on Misfits?
He's got an amateur background, man.
He's been talking about it for a while, apparently. He was
When-
Eddie Hearn said something this week as well about
Jake Paul.
he had a chat with him about him and Jake Paul at Old Trafford. Imagine that. Like,
What a fight that'd have been at Old Trafford. That'd have been cool, to be fair.
They could do it at Old Trafford.
Yeah,
man.
with obviously Rooney's loved at United and Manchester. He's big name. He's big name anyway. And he
To get Everton's new stadium if they want.
Yeah,
Everton will need the money, I'm sure they'll say yes.
It's a bit of a dig.
I never thought we'd be in a world where we could see Wayne Rooney
You
and
could
Jake
fight.
Paul cross paths, and
He probably
fighting.
fighting Jake Paul. I think we can put his name to a side. But who could Wayne Rooney
Well,
fight?
KSI, they were on
KSI,
that as
they were
well.
talking about.
KSI Wayne Rooney.
It's obviously going to have to be big names, isn't it? But
Yeah, you don't want to see.
Why
Wayne
can't we
Rooney,
just get an ex-footballer?
isn't Jake Paul a Liverpool fan?
allegedly?
So it just wrecked itself, doesn't
Yeah.
it?
Alright,
Wayne
come on.
Rooney,
Jake Paul's trying to be professional.
Luis
Come on, then.
Pineda. Why not make it
Oh.
happen?
Mystery opponent, and then
Yeah, Pineda comes out
oh
again.
my god,
Tag team 2v1. Pineda and B-Day versus Wayne Rooney.
Roy Keane.
Oh god, no, that'd be an unfair fight.
Oh, get
Who could he
Roy
fight?
Keane and
Roy Keane would
Patrick
be good,
Vieira.
Oh.
Oh,
Finally get that fight.
speak of hate
So
Randy,
good.
that would have been unreal. I don't
You
think.
should literally be a bloody promoter. You should forget about being a
And
journalist.
I have to have a chat with Dan the next time we see him, see if he needs any more
Get a job over at
Do you
Vogue.
need any tips and tricks?
Yeah.
I'm the man. That's what Ben would be saying.
matchmakers.
I don't think Dan needs any tips and tricks after
No,
that.
By the sounds of
Probably
what the fights you were watching on Saturday, they were well matched.
Yeah, he was
Yeah,
doing
Which
well.
you don't see on big shows. Can I just say?
True.
With Matchroom, that we were talking about the boxer card the other week. It was quite one-sided. By
They
the
are,
sounds of it on Saturday, it wasn't very one-sided with all the fights. They were all 50-50s.
to
pretty
give
much.
Boxer their credit, mind they've pulled off a cracker of a card.
Well,
there.
that was our next sort of talking point for the card was the Fabio Wardley, Fraser Clark. The full card has sort of been filled out now. We'll start from the bottom. Before Ben Whittaker back on the Boxer
Yes.
card.
The dancing monster.
That's a surprise there. Sky
Well,
Sports have been having him on the interviews recently, rolling
He's
him
the
out.
Luke Littler of
Of boxing, he
though,
fully
eh?
is. Everyone's talking
no,
about it.
how is he the Luke Littler of boxing though?
Because
He doesn't look like he's 50 odd, does he?
no, that's Mauricio Lara. I said
Oh,
he's the glitter of boxing.
I can believe that when you messaged in the group.
He's
How
like
old is he,
mid
25?
20s. Yeah, he's like mid 20s.
Lara?
He's younger than you.
Yeah,
Wow.
Mauricio Lara is younger than you, and
He's
he
had a
looks
hard life.
ancient.
Why did I think he was older than that?
I know.
I thought he was in his like
He's
late
25.
30s.
He's 25.
Where the hell did they find him? When he
That's
came
what-
over for the Josh Warrington fight, he looked like he was...
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah,
Anyway, going back to Ben Whittaker.
yeah. Ben Whittaker's fighting on the. We haven't got an opponent for Ben yet,
The surgeon.
which I'm a bit concerned.
Stick him in there with Edmondson, surely.
Has to be.
I'm concerned that we don't know the opponent yet because I think that
It's gonna
probably
be-
suggests it's going to be someone that we're not necessarily all too asked for.
I think
Pulse-
if they put him in there with Edmondson on
Yeah.
that card is one of the best, probably the best they'll put on all year.
Probably, yeah, probably. And then Callum Simpson, 13-0, has been announced for the fight now. Again, he hasn't got an opponent yet, but I'm sure that'll be announced in due time. Callum Simpson, tidy super middleweight fighter. Like I said, with 13-0 with that kind of record, it's difficult to argue against. And then moving on up, Alan Babbage, Steve Robinson, probably the one fight that maybe less people are quite so
Good
interested
fight.
about, but it
Good
will be a
fight,
good
though,
fight,
yeah.
I think. And I
Alan
think
Babbage is really good.
He lost his last fight as well, didn't he, Barbich?
yeah, and I think that's something that boxers need to start looking at. And we criticised them of it after their last card, where we all got the predictions bang on, and it was because it was very easy to predict. And with this kind of getting these good fights on there, it'll be interesting.
It's a tricky fight for Alan Babbage, man. Steve Robinson. His last fight was a stoppage. Watching it by you now, I'm on my phone. Whilst we're watching this.
As you do. Nah, he's a tidy fighter.
He's a good fighter, and this is another heavyweight fight, ain't it? On the card, so because Alan Babbage at the time didn't he come from? Oh, what was the weight category that he came from up to heavyweight?
Cruiserweight, presumably.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't cruiserweight. He began B, something beginning with B.
I didn't go bantamweight. He didn't
I
go
don't.
that far.
No, it wasn't bantamweight.
I was going to say he's not come that far.
Bridge. Wait. No,
Oh
it is.
yeah. So
He
it's
came
just a
up
little
from
bit
there, and
lighter.
he was like the unknown. And who's he fought? Alan Babbage. He's been on the big Sky cards before, so this ain't going to be daunting for him. Come the 31st of March.
Eric Molina, he's fought.
It's a big name, but Eric Molina, 5 years too late.
Yeah, Mark Bennett. There's a couple of tidy fights in there for him. Which
It's
is
a tough fight though. Reece Robinson. He's
Steve Robinson.
Steve Robinson. Who's Reece Robinson?
I don't know, mate. Yeah, like you say. And then Florian Marku, Chris Congo.
That's another good fight.
Is another really good fight. Albanian fighter, Florian Marku is, and Chris Congo 14-2, British fighter. I think he lost to Eko Essuman, didn't he, last time out? Who obviously you pitched, Ben, as one of the 5v5 fighters that fight was for the IBF European, WBC International, on the line for Esserman. So, he's clearly a top fighter, has a lot of good fights, and that will be another interesting card. Another fight that maybe will be a little bit tighter, but the next one is the one that I'm most looking forward to. Viddal Riley.
I was about to say, I hope we haven't forgot about that one.
Viddal Riley returning to the ring. 10-0 Viddal Riley fighting Michael Lawal, who obviously lost to Isaac Chamberlain.
It's a tough fight, though.
That was in the Boatsy Aziz card that then obviously got moved, wasn't it? It was that card before the injury.
They main evented themselves, didn't they?
Yeah, and it was a good fight actually, to be fair. And like I said, it would be a tough test that for Viddal Riley. But I'm sure Vidal's looking at it as taking on Lawal and then probably stepping up to Isaac Chamberlain for the British and Commonwealth belts.
I think if he wins this, probably maybe, if not going straight for Chamberlain, you're looking at Chevron Clark, which will be an absolute war of a fight between them two.
Yeah.
Chevron Clark, he fought on the
Belfast
card, and he looked very good. He looked powerful.
He beat Tommy McCarthy, and he's no mug. So
explosive. C4 is his nickname.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah.
Back with the nicknames already.
Don't miss it.
Viddal Riley and Chevron Clark.
What an undercard.
I don't know what's going on with Isaac Chamberlain, because he's had the arguments with Viddal Riley online. I think Chevron Clark started going at him as well now, but
he can't be the fighter that talks the talk but never walk the walk, can he?
It's going to be tough for him if he gets in with either of them, though. It's a hard fight wherever he goes with it.
And then from one fight, Isaac Chamberlain with the BBC and British and the Commonwealth, to the main event. Obviously, we've spoken about this a little bit more, but that Fabio Wardley, Fraser Clark is a great main event card, main event fight. Really exciting fight.
It's an exciting fight, but it's quite one-sided, I think.
Do you think so?
I think so. I trust my Fabio Wardley.
I think he's the favourite going into it, certainly.
It's not...
Look at the record. Compare the records of both men.
Fraser Clark is
the experience will play a vital part in this. And obviously, Fraser Clark's had the experience in the amateurs, whereas Fabio Wardley's just come straight through, did a couple of fights, and then just went straight to becoming a pro. But I think it's an easy night's work for Fabio Wardley.
That's what I was going to say. Like, sometimes when you see someone who hasn't got an Olympic background come up against someone with an amateur and Olympic background, the one with the background at the amateur level tends to be the favourite. But I think with most people going into this fight, I think most people are tipping Fabio Wardley to be the favourite of the two.
I'm looking forward to the fight, but I think
it'll be a good fight.
Yeah.
But if Fraser Clark can pull it off against him, he puts himself right in the mix.
Yeah,
he will shock the world if he does that, in my opinion.
I don't know if it's that far out. Obviously, Fabio Wardley's had some big fights. David Adeleye, Nathan Gorman, but that's not necessarily the biggest sort of...
All these fights, they've said that Fabio Wardley is too small, and he's just come up and he's knocked him out. So,
he's a good fighter, Fabio Wardley.
Hard puncher.
Yeah, he's a tidy one. It'll be a good scrap.
When's it? 31st of March. So
31st of March, yeah.
It'd be interesting to see whichever one of them win it, where they go next. After that, what sort of fight they're looking at.
Daniel Dubois.
That'd be a good one. I'd like to see Fabio Wardley and Daniel Dubois.
Yeah. Because is Fabio Wardley now a free agent now because he's with Boxer for this card, or is it a one-off? Do you reckon?
I don't know.
Because he was with Eddie Hearn.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not entirely sure. Obviously, he fought out in Riyadh in his last fight, so I don't know what he's doing. I'm sure we'll find out soon afterwards.
Could be on the 5v5 Fabio Wardley if he
be.
is with Eddie Hearn still.
Chuck him up against Daniel Dubois.
Yeah, and then the other fights, or the only fights that really necessarily we've picked out to talk about for this weekend, is the event in Orlando, Florida, Eddie Hearn Matchroom card, along with Box Lab. There's a couple of reasons we picked out. You've obviously got Padraig McGrory fighting Edgar Berlanga in the main event, so that's a British man travelling over there. But I think the main reason we wanted to talk about this card is Andy Cruz fighting on the card, defending his IBF International Light versus Brian Zamaripa Rodriguez. Thank you very much.
He's just so good with the names, ain't he?
Andy Cruz, as Jared mentioned in his episode with us, which if you haven't checked out,
go and check it out.
Go and check it out. Great episode. like I said, yeah, Andy Cruz is a top fighter, a really great amateur, has won all that could be won in amateurs, 140 wins I think it was in the amateur ranks, 140 I think it was. It's a really, really impressive fighter. Beat Keyshawn Davis on 3 occasions in the amateurs.
Yeah, I was just going to say,
Keyshawn Davis is a highly ranked lightweight.
He fought last
He
week,
was on
didn't he?
the
Keyshawn Davis. Teofimo Lopez card.
Yeah.
We didn't talk
He was
much about
calling
his
him out.
performance, but
He was calling him out
very
after it.
good.
Yeah, he was a really tidy performance. And
Don't forget as well that Andy Cruz is a Olympic gold medalist as well at the 2020 Tokyo.
Yeah, that was
Olympics,
Keyshawn
yeah.
Davis. He
He beat
for
Keyshawn Davis.
the
Wow.
gold.
yeah, so it's
So both men have come from the amateurs, and within 4 years of each other, they're
Knocking on the door of
World title
Yeah.
fights.
yeah.
Mad.
I think the difference is obviously Keyshawn Davis is I think 10-0 now. Was it 9-0, 10-0, something like that in the pro ranks, whereas Andy Cruz is only 2-0. He won the IBF International Light in his first fight, in his pro debut, which is mental. I know he's 28, so he's obviously had that extensive amateur career, and then now he's making the jump to the pros. But I think they are obviously at slightly different stages of their pro careers. Keyshawn Davis has had a little bit more. Keyshawn Davis, the businessman, is his nickname. He's the businessman. He gets it done. I don't know what Cruz's nickname is. I couldn't find one. I haven't seen one myself, but
there's no nickname on.
I quite enjoyed that. The businessman. He likes to, I don't know, turn up in a suit.
you and your nicknames, man.
He should do a walkout with a suit and briefcase, like a tear-off suit. You know, it's just. But yeah, and then on the main event of that Andy Cruz card, like I said, Edgar Berlanga, Patrick McCrory, another one where both fighters have got an O on their records. So
Somebody's
Oh, sorry.
Don't ruin it.
I'll let you.
You've ruined it.
I'll let you rerun it, Harry.
You've ruined it.
Hit us
No,
with
you've
it.
ruined it now. I'm
No,
joking.
go on, hit us with it.
The somebody's O has got to go.
Beautiful. Your mate David Diamante will be proud of you for that one.
Just
yeah.
jealous. Oh yeah, jealousy there.
So obviously this will be a difficult challenge for McCrory, fighting for one of the. I think he fought for the IBO World Light in Germany, but other than that, he's pretty much fought in Ireland his whole career. So making that jump over to Orlando will be possibly a difficult test for him.
He had
Edgar
a good,
Berlanga.
good win against Steve Woodall in his last fight, mind.
Yeah.
Unanimous decision against him. He'd only lost once before, but yeah, going over to America against unbeaten New York fighter, it's going to be a tough night.
Yeah, 21-0. You don't get to that. Being a rubber. I think it's slightly different with the American fighters that in this country, in England, you can't really get to 21-0 without fighting the best. I think you could kind of do that in America because there is so many fighters over there. But yeah, 21-0, it's going to be a difficult test and I think a really exciting. And I presume if it's Eddie Hearn, it's available on DAZN, I assume.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that'll be a good one we can watch. We can catch up on this weekend while I'm up in Leeds. Actually, I'm watching Leeds Leicester.
I feel sorry.
A real clash, that one. That'll be a tough clash, but this is
Some really good fights on that Florida card though.
yeah. There's some
Antonio
good
Vargas
matchups.
and Jonathan Rodriguez as well. A bantamweight.
It's not like the Phoenix card with
Gyasov and Cesar Kano as well.
There's no Bretts on there though, apart from.
No, Patrick McCrory's the only one I think. But
It's the only
Yeah,
one
there's
that
an
we're
Uzbek. It's an Uzbek fighter. A
Talking
welterweight.
that part of the world.
Rakimov. I don't know, Ben. You sent in the group chat. Rakimov lost, didn't he?
that was the fight I was on about earlier.
What you were trying to
Rakimov's
watch?
fight.
Look at that.
I
I bring it up.
I
I'm
know.
only going to bring it up
I knew
just
it.
because of Eddie Hearn, the way he celebrated.
Yeah.
Did you see the video?
Rakimov and Sugar
Yes.
Nunes.
Yeah.
Because Sugar Nunes now that I don't know
Needs
why
to
I forgot
fight
about-
who?
Joe Cordina.
Wow, well done.
Both signed with DAZN, both under Eddie Hearn. Get that fight in Cardiff. That's the one we could actually get in Cardiff.
It would be an unbelievable.
Since he's obviously Cordina should have been fighting this weekend. The card
Should have
that
fought.
never was, but yeah.
To be honest, it's actually worked out quite well that Fury Usyk was called off for you two,
Oh well,
because you wouldn't have gone to the
they
Swansea
said
show.
they were going to try and when we were down there, they said they were going to try and sort it so that the fight would have been done in time for.
So it would have been an afternoon show. Then,
Yeah,
maybe.
so realistically, me and Ben would have been running over to Spoons or someone sat in the car watching it.
yeah.
But disappointing that it wasn't happening, but it'll happen. Fingers crossed, maybe,
What a
possibly.
stoppage, though,
Yeah, I
by
can't believe.
Nunes.
Lucky you brought that up. 'Cause
Yeah.
we nearly missed that.
Yeah.
Rakhimov, no mug.
And he's now set
hell
himself
of a
up.
win from Nunes.
Because he went
Him
all the
and-
way to Tajikistan, is it? So have I said that right?
Tajikistan, yeah, maybe.
Tajikistan. I thought it was Turkmenistan for a minute, but I remember that no one can go into that country.
No, he is Tajikistani,
Yeah.
Rakhimov, so I presume that's where.
You've seen him live, haven't you, as well?
Who?
Rakhimov, no. Was that the wrong fight?
No,
Cordina?
I didn't see the
No.
Rakhimov one.
Okay.
Yeah, that was in the international club,
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
more. That
the
was
motor point.
In the Utilita.
He also fought Zelfa Barrett, didn't he? Who's now
Yes.
fighting Jordan Gill.
that's another good fight.
Which is
for
another good fight. And,
April.
of course, on the undercard of the Jordan Gill fight, Zelfa Barrett, we got Brandon Scott's
Oh.
fighting.
Yeah, we met him on the weekend.
we
I'm
met
so jealous about that, man. I can't. I really wanted him. I really want to meet him.
We'll get him on.
He seems so funny.
Fingers crossed, we'll get him on the podcast.
Yeah.
Spider-Man.
I think
What's his
we-
nickname? I swear his nickname's like
World's
something
baddest nerd.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Didn't you say that he had like a Pokemon chain on?
Yeah, he had a Gengar, like diamond Pokemon chain on his. Like I said, he's a big
Bloody
nerd, but just a really sound guy, and
Yeah.
it would be a great guest. So fingers crossed we can get him on, and obviously a brilliant fighter.
I think we would all be laughing non-stop for an hour. If we,
I think the
if
thing
he
that made
came
me
on.
laugh that Brandon said was when we were talking about getting him on, he was like, "Oh, I'll talk to Dan," and he was like, "What was it?" He said, "Oh, Dan does all the hard work. I just get in the ring and fight." I was thinking, "Oh, yeah, it's like the easy stuff, isn't it? The easy bit is getting punched in the face." Oh yeah, sound.
The thing I want to
That
see
was
is
quite funny.
when he goes to that press conference on the undercard, what he dresses up as. He was bloody Spider-Man.
we
wasn't he?
should have asked him actually, but
Oh, see, if I was there, I would have asked these important questions that the people need to know.
Or you would have wasted our time when we
And
were
then got him to give me his top 10
Well,
pound
we-
for pound fighters.
Oh
we
yeah,
might
cool.
Blindly rank them.
might bump into him again at one of these other shows in Wales at some point.
Hopefully
He's a
Max
Swansea
is
boy, and
second.
Glenelly's pretty close. I'm sure
Yeah.
he'll be down there. We'll have a chat, see what he says.
He'd be out of camp by then, though, wouldn't he? His fight's already happened, or was it a week?
13th his fight is,
Ah,
and
so
then
sure
it's
he
the
might
weekend
be.
before. So
Yeah, he might be there. But yeah, it's like you say, Rakhimov's a top fighter and has got some interesting fights coming up. Is there anything else we've missed? Anything we've missed on this sort of? It's been a bit all over the place because there's not quite as much boxing going on at the moment with that Fury Usyk card being cancelled. Obviously, I think people were a bit wary with putting the big fights on this weekend, and then obviously that's been cancelled, so there's leaving this slight gap. But I think we've pretty much covered it, and I think we've had given our due diligence to the what we've done on the weekend, and obviously fingers crossed when we go down to the Cardiff Vale Sports Arena, it will be a similar sort of situation, and we can do that. Obviously on the YouTube, on the Spotify this episode. On our YouTube, however, there will be an interview, like I said, coming with Tony Borg, coming with Nathan Howell, one of the fighters down at St Joseph's, as well as Liam
Lloyd.
Lloyd.
Yeah.
Again, another one of the fighters down at St Joseph. So all of that content's coming on the YouTube as well as the podcast. So if you haven't checked that out already, you might as well do so. Otherwise, we will catch you all next week where we talk about all the fights and preview finally some big fights coming up.